Hello, welcome to Showboys. It is Thursday, and that means we have another episode for you, and we're excited. Got quite a few things to get into. A couple of shows to talk about. One that kind of made a big splash this week. And we'll probably talk about some other random stuff. But anyways, my name's Mike. I'm joined with my good friends Pixel Nick and Chadwick the Third. Chad, how are you today?
I'm great, man. Doing good. How are you,
Yeah.
Mike?
You know what? I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Nick
Yeah, you're
never
welcome.
asked me, so
I know.
thank you.
I know.
Appreciate that.
I
That's a
thought I'd
lie.
extend the hand.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Nick just cusses at me every time I say anything to him. So you should see our Discord DMs. Just him sending very mean gifts to me.
Your
Nick, how are
response
you
is just
today?
so hollow because I can see right through your facade. You just got hollow responses.
What did I even say?
You're like, LOL, okay. Like, come on.
I mean, does that deserve I hate you? I mean,
Yes.
I don't know, maybe.
Yes.
But are you doing well tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing better. I think I'm just about done with this cold or whatever. So
Nice. I think
not dying
somehow
anymore.
You
Feeling good.
transferred it through the internet to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
internet
thank you.
transferred sicknesses.
But
yeah.
That's funny because I must have had it first and then gave it to Nick and then you gave it to Mike.
No, you mean like from the other week?
Oh,
like
no,
a
no,
month
no.
ago when you were like legit dying on camera?
That was like I was really sick. No, I had a cold like last week before.
Okay.
Kids in school, man. Just wait till they get to school. It's a
Yep.
freaking nightmare.
Oh, he's in
Yeah, it's
daycare. So
Utter nightmare. Okay, yeah, same concept.
Yeah. Might as well just be licking the bathroom floor.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
as far as I'm concerned, they are because
Yeah.
they bring something new home every day.
So good. Just off the top, want to apologize in advance if at least my internet or anything gets goofy. There's storms rolling through the area, so hopefully it won't make a big difference. But yeah, we have some fun stuff to talk about tonight, but we got to thank our top tier patrons, Tim C, Yusuf H, and Joe C, or Tim B, Yusuf H, and Joe C. Thank you guys so much for being such faithful patrons. Your support means the world to us. All of our other patrons, you guys are awesome too. Thank you guys so much for
Shout out.
supporting us monthly. The last two Patreon exclusive episodes have been super fun. A little behind the scenes of our giant March Madness endeavor. So go sign up and check out those episodes if you want to get like a first look at what's happening. We have the Switch giveaway, road to 1,000 subscribers. So subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't yet. Tell your friends. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're giving away an OLED Switch. So yeah, help us get there. Help us get there. Give this to you. Do you guys just want to like quickly talk about March Madness, or do we want to save it?
Shoot, yeah, let's do it.
All right,
It's a big deal. It's coming up
Okay.
faster than everyone thinks.
It really is. We got like what 5 more Thursdays, 5 more episodes before it starts, I believe, which is crazy. But yeah, we're doing this thing. First ever, the inaugural Showboys March Madness tournament this year. We're going to kick it off with the best streaming service original series. So we have sat down, picked 64 of the best original series across multiple streaming services. Tuesday we got together and we had a fantasy football style draft for our region of the bracket. We each drafted 16 shows out of the 64, and we got all the matchups made. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to last the entire month of March. We're going to be doing polls and asking you guys to fill out the brackets. Your input's going to be very helpful in helping us determine the best original series that was released on a streaming service. You guys have anything else you want to add to that? I mean, like, are you guys excited about it? Looking forward to it?
I'm more excited than I thought I would be.
Yeah.
I like the slight randomness to it, but like the controlled chaos.
Yeah.
I think for whatever reason, like it will replicate some real things about like actual March Madness, like the upsets,
Well, we
the
learned
weird
one
twists and
thing.
turns.
Yeah, one thing we learned during the draft was the seeding is misleading. Wow, that sounds really cheesy. Did not mean to rhyme that, but like
Horrible.
the way we determine the seeding for our regions, we sorted our shows after we drafted them by the average overall rating. We took ratings from Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, and IMDb, averaged those out, and of course, the highest rated show in our region is the number 1 seed. Lowest rated show is number 16. And of course, we match them up the way matchups are decided in seeding for the NCAA college basketball tournament. So, with that being said, shows like what was House of the Dragon, like an 8 or a 10 seed,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So seeding wise, there's probably going to be a lot of upsets, quote unquote upsets, but yeah, I'm excited to see how this works. It should be a lot of fun, or it's going to suck really bad and you guys are going to hate March because it's going to be the entire month. So yeah, hopefully if it's fun, it goes well, we'll do it again with, I mean, this is able to be used for so many different kinds of topics. So I don't know. I'm fun. Do you guys have any shows from your region that you're looking forward to in their matchups?
Oh yeah, I do definitely, but I'm not going to talk about them. We'll get to it
Nice.
in March.
Yes.
I got a couple exciting ones I'm excited for.
Nice.
I did a extrapolation of my bracket, and definitely round 2 is going to be like dicey.
Yeah.
Like it gets tough in round. I mean, obviously, if it went the way I wanted it to go, like round, because like it's hard because like round 1, you're like, oh yeah, this show, that show, this show, that show. Then you move to round 2, and you're like, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. So the first, basically all rounds leading up to the Elite Four, we're all going to have a say in the winners and losers for every region. It's going to be like a panel thing. The 4 of us, well, the 3 of us, and then Dad, who's behind the scenes tonight. Thank you, sir, for hanging out back there. The 4 of us will be on screen. We'll, deliberate through a certain criteria that we come up with that we will make available to everyone watching. And then we will take into consideration the data we get from the community polls and stuff. And that's kind of how we will advance shows through the bracket. But once we get to the Elite Four round, each one of us will be representing our region's show in a debate style against our opponent for the Final Four and the championship round. So that's kind of why we drafted our shows. So at least we would have some say in what show we might be representing in this debate. And we could kind of hopefully control, whether or not we've seen these shows in case we do have to debate on behalf of them. But yeah, I'm excited. I have one matchup that's not in my bracket that I'm very excited to see what happens. And we'll get into that later when we get into our topics tonight. But yeah, make sure you stick around. Lots of updates go out in our Discord. We have a channel created just for the tournament. So make sure you jump in Discord, check it out for any updates, and feel free to let us know what you think.
Yeah, and we're going to be the first poll for round 1 will be going out soon once we for sure have not kicked any shows.
Oh, Chad,
replaced.
I don't know if you know the news yet. So do you want to break it to him, or should we bring Dad on, let him break the news to Chad?
Does Dad want to come on? Is that what he's saying back there?
I don't know. If only we had like a private chat that we could like talk with each other.
Yeah, right.
So
Um,
and he can always bring himself in. Like he has
that
that
is true. He
power.
does have the power.
So we'll take that as he doesn't. Oh,
I
there he is.
do.
Oh,
I don't like to like force myself into a conversation, but because of this news, I just had to. So, Chad, I have some.
Yes.
Well, actually, I have good news and bad news.
Yeah.
Which-
Okay.
Which do you want first?
Which one do you want first?
I certainly want the bad news first.
You can't have it.
Bosch is
That's-
back.
Bosch is back.
Let's
Yeah.
go. What got disqualified?
Okay,
Orphan
so
Black.
going through, I was gathering data to help with visual stuff, and I realized that Orphan Black is not actually a show that debuted on Prime itself. It was like a BBC show originally or something,
Very,
Oh,
very sad
wow.
about
and
it.
then was picked up by Prime. So of course, we have a lot of stipulations to the what shows were allowed into the tournament and what were not, which we will describe later on because that could take a hot minute. But since this wasn't technically a Prime original from the start, we had to kick it out. And then
Who
you
had
and
Orphan
Jeff,
Black?
Sad dad. Me.
Dad did, so that's
So you
why
just-
he
you
got.
But you're
Yeah,
getting
that's fine.
Bosch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well-
got that wrapped up into a nice little bow, don't you? Oh darn, I'm losing the show.
Yeah.
I planned it.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't hurt or help me. It's the same exact rating.
Oh really?
As
That's the
show,
kicker. Yeah, that-
so
that
his
worked out.
matchup remains the same, except take out Orphan Black and Bosch is in its place.
Yeah.
But while I was doing this, I came across an HBO Max show where I was like, yeah, this started way before like HBO Go or HBO Max was a thing. So we probably should do something about it. And then I didn't say anything, and I posted all the shows in Discord that made the tournament, and it was pointed out in there. So now we have to do something
The
about it.
diligent Discord crew.
Yes.
What show is
Old
that?
Ben from Dragoon Effect. It is
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
we're gonna need to find an HBO Max.
It
show to
technically-
go into its place.
Gets the Game of Thrones banhammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Bummer.
Fix
So
that. Okay. bye.
See ya.
okay, bye.
see you later, Dad. But yeah, how do you feel? Bosch is in, man. I know that
I'm
was
excited,
a big,
man.
big thing.
Yeah. We talked about it when we were doing the draft. I was flabbergasted that it didn't make the cut, so I'm excited that it snuck its way back in there. It's a phenomenal show. Phenomenal show.
Well, here, I mean, I know this isn't how it works because it's just you're not supposed to put this stuff out into the public amongst a draft team. But like, you trade him for Bosch, get Bosch, or I'll trade him for Bosch, and then you trade me for a House of the Dragon and Bosch. And we're all just happy. You get Bosch,
Everybody's
I get House of the
happy.
Dragon.
Except for
I
Dan.
don't
It's
know what
not
Dan
Dan
Dan.
gets though.
Yeah.
Oh, let's
You got to give him something good.
But yeah, there's also a little sneak peek too, because I did not reveal in Discord who has what show, just what shows made it and what platforms they were on. So little inside information leaking out already. Got to get some of that whatever that tape is in the infomercial that dude's always slapping on like leaky pipes or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
Oh, I think I already got a replacement for that show.
Okay,
Maybe.
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
You want to hear it now?
Yeah, pitch it.
Chernobyl
Oh,
all
Oh.
day,
that's
Hell
a
yeah.
good one. I
All
think
day.
that works.
and I'm pretty sure that came out on HBO Max.
It did. It was
Yeah,
a couple years ago.
Yeah, boom. Thank you. I
There
get
you
your
go.
normal.
We shall update the logs. This might mess up matchup.
Hopefully, it's the same
okay.
rating. Actually, Silicon Valley was my highest rating, so and Chernobyl is really good. So there's a chance
There's a chance.
there's an even swap there.
So you're
Yeah.
saying there's a chance.
But if
Um,
it's any lower than Silicon Valley, my average drops to the lowest of the four brackets.
Well, hey, you know what? This is actually. Do you want to segue into this now and get to the random stuff afterwards? Because
Yeah.
One of the things we want to talk about tonight, of course, is the series premiere of The Last of Us on HBO Max, which, of course, was co-written. Did Neil Druckmann write the series too?
I
Or
think
did he
he's
just
a
jump
he's a
on as, like,
writer,
a producer?
producer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
they had a
either
list
way-
of all his titles. He has got a couple of them. So
Right. Craig Mazin, though, the guy from Chernobyl, is also tag teaming The Last of Us with Neil. So yeah, perfect unintentional, unplanned segue into one of our
Yeah.
topics tonight. You guys saw the episode. What'd you think?
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was really fucking good, to be honest with you. And I went into it with very, very low expectations because I know typically how video game stuff goes. And it blew me away, dude. The opening scene is very, I won't say it's shot for shot from the game, but there are a lot of shots from the game that made it into the opening outbreak. Yeah, it's just so much. And I would really, even though I love Pedro, I was not sold on him being Joel. I'm now fully on board with him being Joel.
Same.
Same with, I don't know her name, little
Ellie.
Mormont. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not sold on her. Again, totally sold on her. I think she's an awesome. She's playing Ellie awesome so far. I feel like back in the day, maybe like Juno era, Ellen Page would have been the appropriate. And I think that she might even tried to sue the game for her likeness or something stupid like that.
I think
back
you're
in the day.
right.
But yeah, I thought it was great, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, Pedro crushed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushed it.
Yeah. And just the little, like there's just little like breadcrumbs they leave you in the beginning of the episode. So when they're sitting around eating breakfast, they hear on the radio something's going on in Indonesia and they describe it.
Mhm.
And that city has the biggest flour mill in the world. And if you notice at the beginning of the episode, Sarah does not eat anything that would have flour in it. She doesn't eat the biscuits. She doesn't eat the cookies. And then her dad doesn't bring the birthday cake home. I'm like, dude, that is like so freaking cool that it's just like, if you're not paying attention, you totally miss that completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool. Really cool.
Let me see if this shows up on the screen. Okay, that is very tiny. So, can you throw that like on your browser and share your screen? We'll throw it up on the screen somehow. To say I've been waiting for this show for a long time is like the most absurd understatement like I could possibly make. And this image, if we can get it up on the screen, will show you why. I have to say, this is probably the most game to, I'll just say film, even though it's not a movie, it's a show, whatever. Game to film adaptation that we probably have ever seen. Would you guys agree to that?
Yes. Oh, well, yeah, 100%.
And like Nick's sending memes like the Resident Evil and Netflix and
that was so good.
HBO.
So good, yeah.
So perfect. But it's like, it's literally like, this is all we've wanted.
That's
Just
it.
Tell us the same story, but with real people.
Right. Yeah. And it's so lost on them. It's amazing.
I want the like behind the scenes, the making of eventually. And I want to see the scene in the room or whatever, when they're like, yeah, let's just like follow the game. Someone just says really loudly out of tone. Yeah. And everyone's just like, yeah.
All right. Here's the image. It's kind of small, but
are we looking at stupid Facebook?
This is a post from my first foray into podcasting. Shout out the loading bar. March 10th, 2014. Here's the episode name. Episode 2, Facebook redesign, Bitcoin, something else. The Last of Us movie. I talked about the Last of Us movie announcement in March of 2014, and I've been so excitedly waiting for this to hit the screen in any capacity for 9 years.
Yeah. I mean,
I have been waiting for this for 9 years.
Yeah, which is funny because that's only like a year after the game came out. I think the game came out in 2013. So
that is correct.
So yeah, that's funny. I hope that my hope for this is I think this series is going to be phenomenal. I don't think we got like a diamond in the rough in the first episode. I think the whole thing's going to be great. My hope is that Naughty Dog continues to tell their stories in this medium, and I would love to see Uncharted picked up by HBO and kind of dropped the. I like the Tom Holland thing.
Isn't
It
it
is
too
what it
late, though?
is. No, why?
I don't know. Netflix didn't do something goofy like buy the rights to Uncharted for eternity.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, I have to
Yeah, I doubt it.
look that up. But yeah, I mean that would be interesting. One thing to note that I saw floating around the internet, and by floating around the internet, it was an article referencing the creators of the game. Season 1's going to tell Last of Us Part 1 story from completion. And they said that the series is only going to cover the stories in game. So 2 seasons?
2 seasons, yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I
I
was worried about that because I think this has got 9 episodes in this first season. And I was thinking,
disagree.
like, you disagree with what?
It can be 2 seasons for the 2 parts.
Well, no. I'm on board with that. I'm not on board with the 9 episodes.
I'm not on
and
board
we'll
with the
see.
2 seasons.
You're not
I think
on
it'll
board
be
with it.
2 seasons per game.
That would be. I feel like that would be more appropriate. It feels like 9 episodes. They have a chance to rush it, but at the end of the day, The Last of Us is only like a 14-hour game. So if you cut out all the gamey stuff that you're doing in those 14 hours, then.
True.
But they did, even in the first episode, they added a whole hell of a lot that wasn't in the games. All the stuff with Sarah in the beginning was really not in the game. You pick up at night when she's giving the watch to her dad. So,
Well, so when does like the like really cool like over the hill giraffe scene happen? Is that midway?
yeah, it's probably maybe a little over midway, maybe
So
midway.
I'm just saying, like, what if that season 1 finale, like that's just like, or the beginning of season 2, like right at that middle point of the series of the game.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna be super fucking salty pants if they use CGI giraffes for that scene. Like I'm gonna be really pissed.
I want
about it.
real giraffes or
I want
this
real
show
giraffes.
sucks. Review
salted
bomb.
pants.
Review bomb. Real
I love
giraffes
it.
or review bomb.
That's gonna be Chad, your second podcasting
Yeah.
catchphrase.
Super
Put a pin
salty
in it.
pants.
Salty pants.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it's probably going to happen in CGI, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I go ahead.
I was I don't want to say disappointed, but I was shocked at that they were going to tell the entire first game in one season. But now thinking about it, like you said, Chad, if you take out all the gameplay stuff of
Right.
like clearing rooms of clickers and like crafting and like and boil it down to just like the story beats and cutscenes and stuff, that is about a
Yeah.
season's worth of content. It just makes
Dying.
me sad because even though
Reloading.
I'm a fan of like the short series, I think 2 is just like
Too short.
like
yeah.
make it a limited series of 1 season or go to 3 to 5, right? The
Right.
2 season thing is kind of a weird like middle ground that I don't know how I feel about. But I mean, they have 2 games. If they're going to tell a game a season, I mean, that's just how
Yeah.
it's going to be. And I'm a fan of like if you stretch the first game out into 2 seasons, you're going to have a lot of fluff, and then you're going to have a lot of people that were, that are adding things that were not in the game, and then that's where you get into like horrible Resident Evil show and
Yep.
movie like territory, when like this is a game, this is a narrative that like much like Uncharted, like shook the foundation of storytelling and gaming. And I remember very distinctly, still to this day, many moments throughout the entire game that affected me emotionally, but like especially when the credits rolled, I was like, one, this is a better story than like 85% of movies that I've
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
And 2, I am emotionally exhausted, and
Yeah.
I just played a video game.
Right.
That's all. Like, so just do what the game did. I'm fine
Yeah.
with it. Like 9 episodes, that's cool. 2 seasons, perfect. Just keep the trajectory of episode 1 of this series like going up. Like if you just keep following that path, like this is going to be like a top 5 show of all time.
And maybe this can happen because I haven't played the second part. I obviously need to play that before the second season comes out or whatever
Yes.
they get to that in
Yeah.
the show. Actually, I think I bought that. Did I buy that on
I
sale?
think you did.
Anyways,
I think you
did
did.
I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what? Hey, they're like, hey, season 3, and everyone's confused because like they wrapped up both the video games, and then when season 3 drops, they just drop the game.
Drop the game.
Part
That was
3
so
at the same
cool, dude.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. It really, yeah. We talked about that. I wish that studios would do that more. Like with Grand Theft Auto 6, I wish they'd be like, here's the trailer and it's out today. Like
Yeah.
you don't need to build hype for Grand Theft Auto. Everybody's been waiting for it for years.
Yeah,
Certain stuff
Beyonce
like
it.
that.
Just
Right.
drop the album.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I think the plan certainly is to make another game. So I don't know if there's going to be 2 seasons and then a gap and then a third season later on once the game comes out, or what their plan is. But
See, that's tricky because we know how that kind of goes when you have a rolling series that's doing well and the books aren't done yet. So like,
yeah, yep.
So I feel like if
Too
there
soon.
are plans for another game, I'd really hope they're sweet enough. And I think Naughty Dog plus HBO would be sweet enough to pull something like that off, where they're like, hey, same year at least, or like
Right.
something very, very subverty, where they're like, hey, the game's coming out, and they surprise drop the other thing. So
Yeah.
season's coming out, they surprise drop the game.
Yeah, I mean, presumably there's going to be plenty of time to do that because you have to assume. I think they're working on another game that's not The Last of Us, but you have to assume there's some work going on in a third entry in the series. But I mean, the second one is almost double the length of the first game. So I mean, the second season might be even way longer than 9 episodes if they want to tell that entire story.
Or they could split that up into 2 seasons, like you
Yeah.
said.
I mean, that could be cool. You have like maybe first season's 9 episodes because that fits with the first game, and then there are 2 seasons to cover the second game if it's that much more.
Right.
That's
And
fine.
to your point about HBO and the whole tandem thing, and then you made the joke about Game of Thrones, I think if they were to do something like that, or even like pause, like do a year or 2 gap until a game is completed to have material to work off of, like I think they probably learned their lesson from how Game of Thrones happened.
Right.
That, like they probably would not repeat that mistake again.
Yeah.
But
Especially
I will say, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, especially this day and age, like there's just so much crap out there, and everyone's so plugged into what they like that there is nothing wrong with taking a few plus years off between the seasons of a show. And like look at the Clone Wars. There was like 5 years before the last season aired, and like no one even knew if it was really coming. It came out, it was the best season, and everyone loved it. So there's no reason why they can't wait for the next game to be done to just drop the new season, because it's not like everyone that watched season 1 and 2 are going to be like, yeah, I'm totally not going to watch that now.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think go ahead.
Jordan says this show should go from the first game and launch over to whatever new game they launch, ignoring the second game.
Yeah, one of the haters that probably didn't touch it. Yeah, I've talked on multiple times that the second game is a fucking masterpiece. It is what it is. You have to play the game in order to understand it. It did get a lot of hate. I think it was pretty unwarranted hate. Did it simplify some things in a story wise? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but the way that it tells that story is groundbreaking. I think 100%. I mean, it's well deserved to get 10s from everywhere that it got 10s from. So,
yeah, from what I remember, it was people reading like
leaks,
like leaked like scripts of the game story.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was like bullet points from the story when put together in a Reddit post sound horrendous. But the way that the story is told, it's like you're trying to get the cliff notes of something and then make a judgment on it. Yeah, you got to play the game. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. It really annoys. I'll always, the first article I ever wrote for Downright Creepy was a defense of The Last of Us Part 2. It's the very first article I've ever wrote in the gaming space whatsoever.
Shout out, plug.
Yeah.
Shout out. Shoot, what was I gonna say?
You love this episode.
I do, but before we get into the episode, there's one final thing. I talked about how I've been waiting for 9 years since the movie was announced in 2014. I was thinking about this today. How happy I am that it didn't actually happen until now. where,
Right.
Like we're in the age of the series, right?
Because back then you would have got an Uncharted style movie.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
Not even.
And
It
we
would have
didn't
been a
have Pedro
Resident
yet.
Evil.
It
Yeah.
would have been Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, like not only has the gamer voice like resounded, all around that, like generally game adaptations totally suck, and here's why. Somehow nobody listens still to this day, except for apparently, from what we got in episode 1, HBO has. But just the craft of creating a good series is like, I mean, like this is the sweet spot for shows the last couple years. They've really figured it out. Streaming services have really helped in that area, and man, I'm just glad that this is a series and not a movie, and it was picked up by HBO, and like it's just a perfect time because
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well-
It was just the craft of making a good series is like really like in its wheelhouse these days, and I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
excited.
I
I'd
think that.
rather-
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'd rather HBO just now go grab Resident Evil IP and just be like, all right, let's restart.
Honestly,
Twitter-
yeah. I mean, that's been done so many times, though. I think that's what Netflix tried to do with Resident Evil, and they failed miserably. But we have to be fair here, exactly, because The Last of Us has not only one of the best stories ever told in video games, one of the best stories ever told, period, that they're working with, where Resident Evil, it has a weird story that you could really fuck up if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But I don't think the big thing is HBO. I think the big thing is having Neil on the series in the capacity that he's on the series.
It's true. I mean, can't go wrong having the creative director of the game be a writer of the series.
Yep.
Yeah, because go figure, just recreate the game.
Man,
on
that's
screen, it's really
crazy
exciting.
concept.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, like that's what Naughty Dog's known for. So I mean, I don't even know if that happening on Resident Evil would make much of a difference.
Right. Exactly.
That's true.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. But you guys want to talk about the actual episode now?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Jordan says Resident Evil went off the rails a long time ago. We can agree on that at least. Yes.
100%.
You're assuming that it was ever on the rails in the silver screen in the first place.
Yeah, definitely, certainly was maybe on the rails for all of 5 minutes of the first movie, and then it went off the rails. But game-wise, they've been off the rails for a long time until 7 came out, and I think they kind of pulled themselves back a little bit. But yeah, I would agree with Jordan. Finally on something.
I watched Mike play the first one remaster, and I was like, this looks like a terrible game.
Yeah, don't go back retroactively and play Resident Evil 1.
Dude, I'm
It's
holding out for a
awful.
remake. I'm
A
holding out.
complete overhaul, you mean?
It needs a Resident Evil 2 and 3
Totally
like,
remake, yeah. Because it's a cool game, dude. It's a cool story. It's a cool area that you're exploring there. It'd be awesome in that remaster, just with the
Did not age well.
the fixed cameras and the tanky controls. It's just not the remaster.
Mike's just like
that would
walking
remake
into
that would-
walls.
Yeah, pretty much like 75% of my stream of that is just me being like, why am I playing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think like back in the day that
Audibly.
was huge because it added a level of horror to the game because you couldn't control your character very quickly. So maybe back then it made sense, but now it's just like like more frustrating than anything scary.
Yes. So what did you guys think of the intro of the show? Like the 1968, I think it was, like talk show set with the epidemiologists or whatever.
That was badass.
Yeah.
Absolutely cool. I love that take. And like the whole he just had like this thought, this idea, and just like went off the deep end with it. And he's just like, yeah, so we're gonna go to break. That was
Yeah.
depressing. We're all gonna die.
Yeah, Yeah, I also loved it as well. And if you guys ever get a chance to actually look up what cordyceps does to an
Oh, yeah.
ant, it's freaking horrifying, and it's as horrifying as it's depicted in the game if it was to ever
Mhm.
jump to humans. So, yeah, I thought it was really cool. It's not from the game, totally out of left field, but I thought it was a cool way to intro the show because you need to kind of at least explain the fungus thing going into it. I think that was their plan, right?
Well, yeah, and I think for like general audience who has not played the game, like zombie kind of apocalypse situation with a fungus and not like a virus and all that
Right.
stuff is kind of new if you
Mhm.
haven't like played The Last of Us.
Yeah.
I don't know where else like fungal zombie monsters taking over people really
Yeah,
is
The old
prevalent.
John Madden tough acting, 10 acting commercials.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think I thought it was very important to do it that way. It was just a cool way to open it, like chill 60s talk show. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
I'm just smoking on set. Just
Right,
like,
yeah.
I mean, we'd be fine against the virus. Sure, we might lose like 1 million people, but whatever.
Yeah.
We'd rebound. We'd defeat it. Now, fungus. Oh,
Yeah.
let me tell you. Yeah, no, this is really cool. And then it just goes right into the intro, like the opening
Game of
credit,
Thrones, the Game of Thrones intro treatment.
the moving fungus style, very
With
Game of Thrones, House of Dragon like,
Yeah.
but they kept the
the
song.
song, dude. Oh, dude.
Oh,
as
I
soon
was
as I heard
so
it,
happy.
yeah. As soon as I freaking heard it, dude, I was like, so good, man. This is so awesome.
See, you don't even have to change the music, guys.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
just keep
Keep
it
it.
the same.
Just keep
Like,
it.
oh, do we need to get composer? Do we need to rescore anything? Nah.
They did though.
well,
they
oh.
did get a new composer, but it doesn't matter because they kept like
Yeah.
the vibe and at least for the opening credit song, it is like legit the theme from the game.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so many similarities between the game and what we saw on the screen. My personal favorite is the moment they're in the truck to the moment that Sarah bites the dust. Like that literally is the opening of the game almost scene for scene.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was so good. The
Yeah.
whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
So-
this is literally what I've wanted from
Yeah.
every video game adaptation ever. Like you guys did it.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. As I was watching it the first time, in my memory, I was like, this is literally scene for scene, maybe even word for word. But I did replay through the first part of the game, and there's a lot added to that scene in the show. There's no plane in the scene in the show.
Which was
There's like
awesome.
there's
Yes.
multiple scenes that are literally identical. When they pull up to the sign and the cop cars go to the left, they go the
Yep.
same direction. The only thing
Yep.
that's different from the game is
The barns on
the
wrong
barns on
side
the
of
other
road.
side of the yep.
Yeah, dude, I loved it. And you have like, it's not only that they like kept the truck coming to the thing and the cop car coming, the turn the same, all the things along the road the same, but the camera perspective
Mhm.
Yeah.
is the exact same from the game. You're sitting in the back seat
Right.
looking out the front window. It's
But
like
it's not like weird though. Like they
Yeah.
don't. It's not. It doesn't look out of place the way that's set up either. You know?
No, yeah. Because what was that? I think Hawkeye did a scene like that in a car, like a one shot
that
like
actually
that.
was a
So
very cool scene. I love
Right.
that one.
so
And,
yeah.
It's been a while since I've played The Last of Us. It's not a game I've played twice.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
So watching that opening sequence, I was just like, man, this is so cool. One, because it's like this weird, like eerie familiar, because it's like I've seen this all. I've literally played this all, but like it's far enough in the recess of my memory where it's still like new but familiar. It's like deja vu. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
especially when they're driving through the field and that whole thing, I was just like, man, this is nuts.
I love when they get into the town and like
Dude.
it's like dark. You can only see the headlights in the truck and you see the people running. And it's just like, I don't know, the coordination of shooting that probably was pretty crazy.
I text Chad because that's also like my favorite part of apocalyptic zombie anything type shows is this like just
Yeah.
existential dread sequence of just like it's all falling apart. I
The
could have used like
initial
another
happening of it.
yeah, I could use like
Yeah.
another 30 minutes of it, but also I was glad it was kind of over because it's just so stressful.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you're right on the stress thing because a lot happens in that scene, man. A lot is going on in that scene.
That's kind of something I wanted to touch on too. Is like I love that in a Quiet Place too. You get the moment that it happens.
Yeah,
That's why I love the first season of Black Summer. It's an entire season of the initial outbreak happening.
yeah. I need to watch. Yeah, I need to watch that. I've never watched Black
Fear
Summer.
the Walking Dead.
I love. Yeah,
First season,
so
amazing
good.
because
Yep.
that's exactly what it is. You're dropped into everyday society and you see the outbreak slowly start to happen, and then when it happens, it's like pure chaos.
Right.
Like that is like apocalyptic stories are always fascinating to me. Less about whatever the source of dread is, like the zombies or monsters in Quiet
Aliens.
Place, whatever. It's always fascinating to me because it's like this always makes me probably sound stupid when I say this, but I'm gonna say it anyways because it's how I feel. It's like the most what could be the most realistic depiction of a collapse of our societal infrastructure, because really that's what is happening. I mean, like, you take something, hot button topic here, like COVID, for instance, and it kind of shut the world down in some sense, and like
No, I mean
it's
that
nothing like an apocalypse, but like it just shows how fragile our infrastructure is in certain areas, and like that part is the scariest part of apocalyptic things to me.
Right.
Plus what like the survivors turn into. Like that is the absolutely frightening part, is what humans would devolve into doing to survive.
when they no like during no for real like during COVID like the like the eve of when they're like all right like 2 weeks we're like full like shutdown curfew all that nonsense like we like need to get some things and like we just need to go out anyways. And it was like, should we go out? I'm like, yeah, we should go out because it's probably it's gotta be sweet, not sweet, but like yeah, sweet, like weird out there. And like we drove to the strip, and just like down the highway and just like it was eerie. Like no one was out. Like everything was gone. It was like a Thursday, Friday night, like bizarre, right? And I'll never forget it because it was absolutely bizarre because everything was just out of place. Everyone was not out. And like you go into stores, like there's just that weird feeling because it's like no one really knows anything at all. It's like,
well, I mean, yeah, the COVID thing was like, at least for me, who's like the internet nerd, was that strange at the time, and watching videos coming out of Hong Kong, I was like, dude, this is fucking bad. Like there are people dead on the sidewalks that they're scooping up, laying in the park dead. They're welding doors shut to keep people in their buildings. Not thinking to myself, it's like a freaking dictatorship over there. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking like, holy shit.
A culmination of two terrible things.
And there was like a Hong Kong reporter that like got on into Wuhan on the like last train before they shut everything down. He was the one that was filming everything. But like people in Tyvek suits tackling people in the park, like, dude, this is bad. So when they started talking that like, hey, maybe this might be bad, I was like, I mean, I was scared shitless. I'm not gonna lie.
And you're like,
I'm a germaphobe. So I like
a germaphobe who's always sick, mind you.
Who's always sick, right? It's an absolute disaster.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, and then you even saw it in things like I mean, due to lockdowns and stuff, like there were shortages of things. And
and some big things like medications,
like
and
baby formula and like
baby formula.
It's I mean, it's just that was just like a bad case
not even
of
a big
flu.
deal.
That's not like
Right.
turning people into undead corpses that are
Right.
walking around and eating you. Like,
and attack. Yeah, like instead of like kind of transiently, passively spreading through the population, like it's aggressively assaulting the population and trying to kill us all.
Right.
Like zombie apocalypse would be serious business, whereas like that was just like, a little,
and you saw, like, I mean, of course, we're not like society didn't devolve into like just straight out murder in the streets over like a carton of eggs. Though with the price of
it's
eggs
coming
these
up.
days, it's
Yeah. We might
I
be
mean,
getting there. We
hey,
might be getting there.
I just
I-
saw
I
like
like them-
$7 a carton, and we live in Northeast Ohio. It's not like we're in New York or California
Yeah.
where cost of living is like outrageous.
I like the meme where it's like people who have chickens are like drug dealers or like
yeah.
kingpin.
You got like 3 eggs in little plastic baggies on the counter. Like, yeah. But society did devolve in some ways over a flu. Like,
Yeah.
so obviously it's nowhere near an extreme case that we see in like post-apocalyptic movies or shows, but like
Test of the waters.
something like that did do something to society and our
Right.
infrastructure. So let me just reiterate from back like 2 Spooktobers ago when I told what I thought was the scariest horror genre of all, and that is like zombies, aka the post-apocalyptic stuff. This is why, because like, yeah, it just that stuff
I
terrifies
definitely,
me.
I definitely agree with you. I think even really you can take out the zombies on it in some capacity, because I think Nick and I were talking about this. Maybe I talked to you guys about it, but I watched The Road the other night, which is based on like a Cormac McCarthy book. And there's no zombies, but it's very similar post-apocalyptic wise to The Last of Us, but there's no zombies. I don't know that they really even touch on what happened, if it was like a virus or what happened, but dude, that movie's fucking terrifying, and easily the darkest movie I've ever watched in my life. Like,
Oh, you're talking
like
about
I
The
couldn't
Road again?
sleep. Yeah, The Road.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you can even take the zombies out of it, and it's still just
Well, I
as
mean,
terrifying.
The Walking
And that's like
Dead.
post like everything's collapsed. That's kind of like that movie is kind of like the precursor to Mad Max. Like Mad Max is
Yeah.
after The Road. The Road is
Right.
this weird point between we used to have shit, now we have nothing.
Yeah.
The Road to Mad Max.
Yeah.
Fury.
Yeah,
Fury
it's
Road.
like, well, it's like The Walking Dead. That name represents the threat of the living survivors being the Walking Dead, not like
Yep.
the zombies themselves. So like, yeah, that's like a big trope, but it's also like I don't know, could be a very realistically accurate trope. When you take like the undead corpses trying to eat you out of that whole thing. But
Right.
Speaking of undead corpses, I at first was a little confused when they go down into the subway station. That's kind of like in the game the first time you like leave Boston. So I was like waiting for the masks to come on, right? Because you know, the pores and stuff, but they took that aspect out, and it's just transmitted from the carriers, the infected, like when you saw in Sarah's encounter with the neighbors, like the old granny was not like eating that person, it was just like sticking her nasty fungus tendrils into the other person to infect it. And I love watching new Rockstar breakdowns. I don't know if you guys know that YouTube channel. I'm sure you do. It's pretty big. But immediately after watching the episode, I was like, all right, I gotta watch Eric Voss's breakdown. I love Eric Voss. But yeah, that was something he pointed out. And like when she like looks up from the body, like the fact that the whatever was in her mouth was like stuck and was like tearing off, and it was just like,
to be honest with you, I missed that part. I thought that was hair when I watched it the first time. She like bit a chunk of hair out, but you can see it very clearly moving on its own. And I think you see a couple other zombies throughout the scene that have things coming out of their mouths like that.
The active fungus.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat, but yeah, there's just so much that like I love the one thing I didn't love, all the dang kid deaths. Like, come on now. Cut my heart some slack. By the way, the whole scene with Sarah, when she, is shot, very much accurate to the game.
Yeah.
And like the game, almost started bawling on my couch again.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
But I will say, here's a point I wanted to talk about. Yes, the scene in and of itself is sad, but what made me almost cry was remembering the performance of Troy Baker in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, all right, Pedro, you're doing a great job, but I'm reliving the trauma from the game
Right.
while watching this, and the game trauma is what is making me almost cry right now.
Yeah.
Because
I think we're going to get that probably a lot throughout
dude.
the series, because a lot of these scenes, at least probably to all of us, have a deep spot in our heart, especially like the giraffe scene, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get that a lot through this show. But I don't, also, I really want to point out that they're doing like the after show, like Game of Thrones used to have with the directors. I don't know if you guys stayed and watched that. But they said the reason that they wanted to add in the scenes of Sarah is they wanted to make her seem like she was going to be a main character of the show.
Yeah.
That way it's a little more heartbreaking, because you really start the game on the couch, basically. When she gives them the watch. So you don't really get to know Sarah too much. You're playing as her for a little bit, but it's still heartbreaking, and it's crazy because you're only with her for a couple minutes.
Well, I think that's why you have to add that in the show, because what makes it heartbreaking in the game is you are her.
Right.
And then you die and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Plus Troy just like nails it. Sorry. Troy like annihilates that scene. It is so heartbreaking. But I loved the extra stuff with Sarah, because like you said, even as someone who knew what was coming, I was like, man, this really sucks, because the actress who plays Sarah was like crushing it.
Yeah.
And like, I really liked her interpretation of the character. And I was like, oh man, this blows, because I know you're gonna die, but like, I like you. I wish you could be here.
Right.
I tried to get Aaron to watch this with me, and then like while I was watching, I was thinking, I was like, should I have her like rewatch this episode with me? But then I was thinking at the same time, like, well, there's that weird thing where it's like, oh yeah, his daughter definitely doesn't make it more than 15 minutes into this whole series. Like, she's dead 20 years later, right? So like that's so abrasive for not people who are not familiar with the game. And I remembered that with that, because I'm like, whoa. Because like you said, Mike, it makes sense when you're playing the game. It makes a little bit more sense. But from a show perspective, it's like, oh damn. Like,
well, I think
that's rough.
Yeah, it's funny because I've had people that have watched it at the fire department ask me, like, do they ever talk about what happened in that 20 years? And I'm like, no, like and I think it's going to be a hard thing for the show, because we're going week to week here, and it's like, we don't know what story we're telling, whereas the game, you can flow through it, and you see where they're going pretty quick with it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm bummed that I can't binge this, to be honest with you. It's really irritating me that it's coming out weekly. I know you guys are on board with that.
I know it sucks in the in-between, but like, I like the in-between, because we can do fun stuff like this.
Right.
But yeah, they're like, oh, you liked Sarah? Well, sorry, she's dead. That was pretty brutal, huh? Okay, here's another kid we're gonna kill.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that was another thing. I don't know if I was like maybe in and out of consciousness watching it for the first time, falling asleep or what, but totally missed that second kid in the one that comes in and they pull him out of the truck. Totally missed that was the kid in the truck. Of like, oh shit, I didn't know.
I mean, the kid was already dead. It's not like they killed him on screen.
Right. Well,
but like, you just have to like deal with another.
I mean, they did kill him on scene.
Yeah,
they shot him.
With...
Yeah, they injected him with something.
Yeah.
But I was just presuming that the scanner popping up red meant negative, not positive. You know what I mean? Like, usually red is bad, not good. So
red is bad.
Yeah.
I
mean, it still is bad, because
I meant negative.
Yeah,
is what I meant.
Yeah.
Not positive. So
toss. But yeah, but more so. I mean, I don't know. The sadder part of that is like, here's Joel, who's like completely desensitized to
Yep.
all that, and that's like because the lady was like, I can't, and he's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
What's the pay again? I need
Right.
money.
Yeah.
Their
I
little
loved-
notes. I like the little money notes. Whatever. They're all
Yeah.
like a little different. Just this Monopoly money they're rocking
Yeah.
with.
pretty
Yeah.
much. I loved Tess. I thought her
Great.
version
Yeah.
of Tess was really cool. I loved, honestly, the clicker on the wall, right? That was beautiful. But the very end shot when they make it through the fence and they zoom out and you have the building leaning against the other building. I
Yeah.
have traumatic memories of traversing that building.
It's
in the
literally
game.
directly out of the game. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely identical to the game, which is so cool, dude. Yeah, and a cool way to end the episode, that like haunting image of the lightning and stuff behind the building.
Yeah. Anything else really that stood out to either of you guys?
I like Joel. I like Pedro. Like he does a good job. As Joel, and just I don't know. Maybe I forgot about that. Those bits. That was some of that added, like the details of like the drug dealing and the battery. I think was in there.
No, the
battery.
battery. Yeah,
No?
no. So
that character Robert was in there.
Yes.
Just a different reason.
Yeah. So the whole set, really, the whole thing with Tess actually happens, but it's a drug deal going bad, not a battery deal going bad. So it's implied that they are dealing drugs. It's not shown explicitly with the guard like it is in the show. And then really the entire way they go after him is pretty different as well.
Yeah.
And they end up taking him out, I think.
Yeah. Tess. Well, they chase him down into an alley. One of them breaks his arm, and then while he's like pleading for his life and telling them where the stuff that they either were trying to buy or trying to sell was, Tess just like shoots him.
Yeah. And I think they were going after like weapons cache of some sort in the game as well.
And the other thing is the Tommy storyline wasn't like that's not a driving factor in their smuggling of Ellie. That was like we were trying to get weapons or something, and Marlene's like, all right, well, here, smuggle her and I'll give you what you need.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that change into Joel trying to get the truck to be able to go try to find his brother, and that's what's motivating the Ellie smuggling.
Right.
Yeah,
it gives it a little
I
bit
mean,
more weight to versus they're just doing it for weapons. You know what I mean? They're doing it to get a truck to go to try and save his brother. So it does add some weight. I gotta be honest, I'm gonna have to probably replay the game because it's just been so I played it once when it released, and I don't even remember Tommy being a big part of the game at all.
He wasn't
in the
until
first
later
game.
on.
It was it later, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the radio decoding. That was fun.
Yeah.
Like the songs and stuff.
I do want to point out that Marlene, love Marlene, and she's I believe the voice actor who played Marlene in the game as well, and I think she did a great job because I think she is maybe just a voice actor, and this was like her first.
Nice.
I was gonna say, like, she sounded just like Marlene, so that makes sense. But I also thought Tess sounded like Tess.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll have to pay attention to that because I know that there are voice actors that are coming back. I know Troy Baker is playing a character in the show at some point.
Tommy is in the show, but not playing Tommy. He's playing another character like Troy.
Right.
And I even think what's her is the voice actor for Ellie Ashley something or other? Because I think she has a role, I want to say, that's obviously not Ellie.
Right.
But yeah, I loved it. I'm excited. I'm in.
I like the factory in Atlanta that makes bullets and pills. Like that's just so cool.
Yeah. Just cranking out bullets and pills.
gotta do something, I guess. But yeah, anything else before we move on? Switch gears.
Nah, I'm just happy the first episode here landed well. A solid like 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're all going to be like that or that was just like a special opener. The extra like 20 minutes for the beginning.
Yeah,
sequence, probably.
we see like we saw with like House of the Dragon how fluid they are with their times on their episodes sometimes.
Right. That's a good
so-
point.
So,
And I think
yeah,
that's
I don't
important.
think- yeah,
I think that's good for it. Like I think it's good that HBO doesn't care about time like lengths. Like, hey, if this episode's story is 45 minutes long, so be it. Hey, if this episode is 105 minutes long, so be it. Gotta do
Yeah,
what
I
you gotta
think
do.
yeah.
We
I think
don't
it's
got people
probably-
standing around us saying, "Hey, we got to fit a commercial in
Yeah,
here."
it's
you
less
gotta fit in our-"
restricting, right?
Yeah,
Less restricting to the
Tell the
directors and
story.
everything. Yeah.
that's in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So Nick, you said you had some items. Do you want to get into those, or do you want to get into what do you want to get into?
Yeah, we can move on to some other what's watching stuff. I mean, Mike, I know you haven't been watching anything apparently.
I not really. I started another show this week.
Yikes.
Obviously keeping up with The Chosen. They have 2 episodes left in season 3, but they don't release until
Dang.
the 3rd and the 5th. So got a nice little 2-week break this week. So the companion series will be wrapping up beginning of February, which is
Is that because they drop them in
exciting.
batches? Like, I feel like that went really fast because I feel
So-
like Christmas was the first 3 episodes, and then we're all
Yeah,
through the season.
So they're 100% crowdfunded. So how they make their episodes is very like much however they can when money is available. So I know their first 2 seasons, their release schedule was very like wacky. They would release like a couple episodes, then it would be like a couple weeks or a month, and then they would release an episode, and then there'd be like a week or 2, and then they would release an episode, and at the end of that episode they're like, oh, we have another episode for you, so you get 2 episodes in one night type thing, which would have drove me crazy if I watched current.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch current. I caught up last year, but this year I think they were fully funded at the start of filming, so they were able to film everything and do post on almost everything except for the last 2 episodes. So the first 6 episodes of season 3 were released weekly, which was nice. They also did a cool thing. The premiere, they did the first 2 episodes with a theatrical release, like we have talked about, like streaming things should incorporate theaters more. They did that like a couple weeks before the season hit the streaming services, which I thought was really cool. And they're doing the same thing with the last 2 episodes. They'll be hitting theaters the weekend that episode hits the streaming service. So I think it's really cool they're incorporating that. I mean, obviously they're incorporating that to bring in more money to help them be able to create more. But hey, any chance you get to go to the theaters, pretty cool.
On that theater topic, and we've discussed this so much, but what is stopping one of these theaters from striking a deal with, especially someone like HBO, who has timed releases of their shows, right? 9:00 Sunday nights.
Yeah.
What stops them from saying, like Cinemark being like, hey, this Sunday, like for The Last of Us, could we just live stream the freaking thing? And I know like theaters have like special formats and all that stuff.
Nothing,
But-
because The Chosen did it.
Yeah. So why
Well, I'll
isn't
tell you,
that
I think it's
just-
HBO. It's in your story. It's HBO because they wanted to do that with Game of Thrones. They wanted to
want you
release those
on-
episodes in the theaters, and they wouldn't let them.
They want you on
So-
their platform.
you have to pay the theater obviously for the price of admission, but you also have to like
Log
scan
in
You
your
get a
HBO.
you get a cut
Yeah.
of that too. Like HBO would make money from ticket sales.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Yeah, like they
And
get that cut.
odds
People just
are-
at the show.
Anyone going to watch one episode of a series probably has HBO Max. Why
Right.
would you go watch one episode of a series if you don't plan on watching the rest of the series? So they're still going to get like money from their platform subscription. They just want that juicy. Here's how many people
Exclusive.
viewed the
Kinda.
series
Right.
premiere.
There's ways to track that. I just think it should be much more fluid. They can come off their
Agreed.
horse
Because
because
we talked about that with Stranger Things.
yeah, large format like some like especially finales, right? And there's no reason like I would like some people wouldn't watch an episode and be like, wow, I should actually just go watch this again at the theater because I need a really big screen to see that opening sequence in itself, right? Because that's just flooring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
besides watching The Chosen, and now The Last of Us, for research purposes, of course, for March Madness. Oh, and we're doing Mr. Robot for Throwback Thursdays.
Yep.
So I guess I have been watching things. But for research purposes, I decided to re-log into Apple TV Plus and take a crack at Severance. This was a show that I
Is that one
started.
of your shows?
No, it's actually in
Oh.
Dad's bracket. Spoiler alert.
Have
yeah.
you seen everything in your bracket then?
In my bracket, everything except
I'm just
for
surprised
probably
you're watching a show that's not in your bracket. If
Somebody
there are
else's
shows,
bracket. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I have input on everyone's
you're just
bracket.
gonna wipe them out. You told us not to wipe shows out just because
No,
we hadn't seen them.
but no, I have to be able to we have to be able to have an educated opinion on each matchup, right?
You're anticipating Severance is going far, so we need to be more up to speed on the ones that we think are going to make it.
Plus, it's a
Yeah.
show that I started like several months ago. Watched the first episode and then got distracted by other things. But yeah, I was like, all right,
Chosen.
Severance. It's one season. This will be an easy one to catch up on, to be educated for the first round of the tournament here. And holy crap, it's so good. Like, I loved the first episode that I saw. But again, for whatever reason, life gets crazy and I got distracted. And
Better than The Last of Us
didn't go back.
episode 1.
I mean,
That's not bad. That's not
it's
a bad
right there.
response.
It's right
Okay.
there. I don't think it's better, but I don't think it's worse. It's different. It's a different topic, right? But I started it yesterday and I'm on I've seen through episode 7 of 9. Gotta love being able to watch stuff while you work.
Yeah.
It is super good. The concept, so good. It's so mind bending, and frankly, this is the matchup in the tournament. I'm not going to say what it's matched up against yet because I don't want to reveal the matchups. But this matchup in round 1 is probably my most anticipated matchup to talk about because everything it does, its opponent tries to do, but like is either does it mediocre or fails at it.
Oh wow.
So
I see it. Yeah. Spicy.
the main concept of Severance, they've developed a technology that allows you to sever your brain, right, into into parts that you can turn on and off depending on where you are. So its application in the show, for the majority of its application, is used to separate your work life from your personal life. So when the character goes into work, he like forgets every, like when I say forgets every, I mean he has no recollection whatsoever of his outside person. All he knows when he goes into work is where he works.
Wow.
Like when
That's
he
like a
gets
Black Mirror episode.
when he gets into the elevator and goes up to leave the office, that version of him never leaves the elevator. So when he goes into work the next day, that work version of him never left work, right? Similarly, the outside version of a person who is severed has zero recollection of anything inside work. The guy just knows he works at company A. He goes there, they pay him. That's all he knows. Which is
I must go to this elevator to earn my
yeah.
pay.
I go into work, I go down to the elevator, and then
It's not
all I
bad.
remember is stepping out of the elevator at 5:15, and
Wow.
life goes on. Which is
Literally Black Mirror. Yeah.
such an interesting concept, right? Because that's kind of like a topic, people always trying to keep their work and personal lives separate, like being able to turn work off. Well, this show is literally like, it's impossible
Literally.
to
That
have
concept.
those coexist.
Right.
But the thing about the show is like, it's like a controversial topic in the show, right? Like people think it's not really
Taboo.
morally correct to be able to do that, because it poses the question of, well, is your they call the work version, they're called innies, and the non-work version are called
Or outies.
outies.
Oh god.
So they're like, are the innies just like a slave? Are they actually a separate and unique
Yeah.
person, or are they just a part of you, right?
Okay,
Like,
does it explain how the severance is happening?
it's like an implant that they put into your brain that just makes, I'm assuming, parts of your brain should turn on and off to make you remember.
So it's
certain
not
things.
so
It's
so
not
there's not like two
cloning.
things. Okay. Gotcha.
Not that, I mean, I have 2 episodes left of season 1, so I don't have all the explanation yet. But the way it's been shown, it's literally, well, I know it's the same person because, like, for example, in the first episode, one of the first scenes, the guy gets hit in the face with a phone, and then when he leaves work, he has like a small cut on his forehead, a bandage, and a note on his car saying like, "Oh, hey,
Go
you
to the
bumped your
doctor."
head. Here's a gift card to Pips. Like, have fun." So they're the same, like it's the same
Okay.
body, same
Gotcha.
person, but like morally, like,
Right.
did you just like create a slave, right? That only exists inside the confines of this office. And like, yeah, they bring up a lot of really interesting things. The characters are really good. Some of them are like really great caricatures of like character archetypes, and they
Yeah,
go
yeah.
over the top, and I love it.
think-
Visually, it's amazing, but it's like everything that the opponent in the tournament, like, I wish they would do, and what I think they're trying to do conceptually, with, albeit it's a different concept, but equally as mind bending. They just do it like head and shoulders like above the opponent here, and I'm excited for that matchup.
I feel like that's advantageous for the person and also advantageous for the company, but morally questionable for the company because the company
Yeah.
kind of has a slave at that point. Morally, the person should be okay-ish because they're fine
Yeah.
with that.
Well, I mean,
they're
do-
not
do you have-
slaves, they're getting paid, yeah.
they are, but
Right.
There's an argument for that too.
the innies can't ever leave.
They do,
But they
leave.
do.
Not mentally.
But the
Not
innies
mentally.
don't, because they're stuck there.
Yeah, the persona is stuck there.
Because when there's a term for each ad, persona.
It's interesting that Ben Stiller is the director.
Yeah.
Is
And I
he?
hate the main actor. of the show.
Oh no,
Can't
he's
stand
great.
him.
I love him.
Oh, no.
But yeah, they touch on that a lot, and it's like a big thing. Because
Oh, that guy.
because sitting here talking about it, like, without you guys having seen anything from the show, like, it would sound like it wouldn't really be like a moral question, right? But like seeing how things play out in the show
Makes you think it is. Yeah.
you'll like it. I mean, do either of you have Apple TV or plan
No.
on watching this? Probably not. Okay.
Send
Well,
us
I know
yours.
Dad is watching it, so I'm not going to spoil anything.
Um,
But yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Well, that actor, he's basically okay. He's two things. One, he is like looks exactly like an Apple Plus like main actor. I don't know what
Yeah.
that means, but like he looks like he came from like the Apple factory.
Yeah.
He looks like an iOS
made in
device.
Steve Jobs' basement for sure.
Right.
Yeah, and two, he's kind of like a off-brand man standing on Oprah's couch. He's a Scientologist. Mission
Oh, Tom
Impossible.
Cruise.
It's
Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
He's like an
By the way.
off-brand Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
The main character is played by Adam Scott, which you may
He just
recognize
always
from several things, but
Yeah, he's always like the douchey, funny dude in movies. Like he's the
Great
brother, and
value.
he's the like douchebag brother in Step Brothers. And he
he's in
plays
Parks and Rec.
he plays what seems like the same character in everything I've seen him in.
Yeah,
Maybe not
so-
this, probably, but
I could see that.
He's
His
a-
character in Parks and Rec is pretty great. He's Ben.
great value, Tom Cruise. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm really, really excited, Dad. You need to like get watching because I want to talk to you about certain characters because I think some of them are really, really great. He is the dad in Krampus. You're right. He
Oh
is.
yes, he is. You're right, absolutely. Where he plays maybe a similar character, right? Shocker.
He's got the mold. He came from a factory.
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
did come from the factory.
Yeah, it's a great show. I'm really excited to finish it up. I'm going to be finishing up tomorrow. And
He also looks like the randomized RPG character maker, like in a game. He just randomized the
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, just click random and you get Adam Scott.
and you're like, "Yep, I'll play this guy. This is me." 80 hours later.
Oh man. And it's not only is like that main concept trippy, but like also what he does for his job is just like super weird.
Similar character, but better sweater, says Jordan.
There you go. Heard it here first. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. So I don't
Nice,
know.
yeah.
What about you guys?
Chad's only been watching The Last of Us, I gather. Right, Chad?
Yeah, and Mr. Robot, but there's really
of
not
course.
much to say here about Mr. Robot. So
We got that covered.
and
Oh,
then I
wait.
already
One
Oh,
second.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
I don't. I'm sorry I interrupt you, but I just saw private
Wow.
chat. But just to explain to you, like, because I didn't want to spoil anything that Dad hasn't seen, but he told me to say this, so I got the okay. But a new innie that arrives in the office, right?
I can't get over the name,
Doesn't-
bro. Like
one-
why?
This all happens in like the first 20 minutes of the first episode, so I'm not spoiling too much. But the episode opens with a woman dressed in like business attire, like unconscious on a conference room table, and she's awoken by somebody coming over a loudspeaker, like asking her if she'll take a survey. And she wakes up and she's just absolutely confused. She's like, how did I get here? Why am I in this empty room by myself? Why am I locked in here? I can't get out of I can't get out of the door or anything. The dude on the other side of the line asks her 5 questions, simple questions like, do you know what state or province you're in? Do you remember your name? Do you remember the color of your mother's eyes? Like, she can't remember anything. She can't answer any of the questions. So she's like freaked out. She's scared. She has no idea where she is, who she is, why she's where she is. Turns out like that was her orientation to the job, right?
Okay.
She comes out and like the entire episode, she's like trying to leave the office. So she tries to leave through an exit door in the stairwell, goes out the door, and as soon as she leaves the door, she's back in the hallway. And she's like, what the heck is going on? So she like runs out the door again. And then she's right back in the hallway. And this happens like 5 times. And so she's like, am I dead? Is this hell? Like, why can't I leave this place? And he's like, you can leave this place. You did leave the place, but at the
So
end of the
she
episode,
has like no memory. So the innies have no memory of
Nothing.
leaving whatsoever.
Like,
they can't leave.
no,
Okay.
they don't. They
That gets a
only
little
exist
slavey. Yeah,
in
that gets a
here.
little slavey there.
But either at the end of that episode or the start of episode 2,
I love Nick's fucking
right? I love it. She's shown a video that she recorded, the Audi version of her, saying like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I consent to the severance. I'm like really looking forward to it. Here, version of you who's watching this, like, surprise, like, and so like just there in the first episode, you kind of see that like the innies, upon like inception, like do not understand what the heck is going on, and they're trapped there.
Yeah.
But they go to show like when she leaves the stairwell. Actually, Jeff, have how many episodes have you seen? 2? I think they do this in episode 2. They show the opposite perspective, and when she's running out the hallway door and appears back in the hallway, when she actually runs through the door, like the Audi self is there, and there's a guy on the other side like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, you know, everything's fine. Just so you can go back in there. It's all cool. And then her Audi version's like, oh, how did I get in this stairwell? Okay, I'll head back in. Heads back in. But when she does that, she's right back outside in the stairwell again with that guy being like, I know this is kind of weird, but like, it's gonna be okay. Just go in the door. And it's like you see it from the other perspective where she's having the exact same experience, except she can't go in the door. She keeps popping out of the stairwell.
Oh wow!
So it
sounds really good. And I've talked on the show. I love Black Mirror, and it really does sound like a Black Mirror episode. To be honest with you,
for sure,
like 100%. So
the great thing about Apple TV too is it's only like $6.
Oh, really? Yeah, there was something else I wanted to watch.
There's a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah,
that's probably worth watching, and it's all like one season because it just came out.
Right. Yeah.
Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
Even the name, Adam Scott. It's like being named Stephen Mike.
Yeah.
Stephen Michael.
Oh, it's so true. That's so true. Anyways, Chad, I'm so sorry that I interrupted.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I don't even really remember what I was saying. Yeah, Mr. Robot. I already talked about The Road a little bit. I've been like teasing myself around maybe picking back up on The Walking Dead, but it's not really gotten much further than that. You know, I like pop on and I'm like, man, the show sucks. And
yeah, sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, it does sound like a bad idea. So I was thinking about maybe doing Fear of the Walking Dead because I don't know that I ever finished the first season. I don't know. Not, Mr. Robot's kind of absorbing my mind space for shows currently.
Yeah, boy.
Well, if you're looking for one, you should browse the bracket, see if there's any you haven't seen.
Highest rated. Just go with that, Chad.
Yeah.
Dad says in the background, Fear is so much worse, and I would have to agree. The first season was good, but after that, it was just like nosedive off the cliff.
That's what I hear.
So bad.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about you, Nick?
Yeah. So I watched a movie with the wife.
Wow. What?
Oh,
yeah.
You see, you got a head turn from both of us.
Yeah.
I know. That got your guys' attention.
Oh.
It's I think it's fairly new. It's called The Lost City, and it's on Prime, and it has Sandra Bullock, I believe, and Channing Tatum.
Oh yeah.
And she's like a writer, and he was just like the model for the covers of all her like romance novels that are based on like actual archaeological stuff. So like she's really smart in that capacity. But then her books took over, and he's just this like Channing Tatum on the cover, right, with like half a shirt, whatever. So that's kind of like the setup for their little adventure in this movie. So it's pretty funny. I don't know. Channing Tatum's just like that doofus dude.
Yeah.
Funny to no end.
He is pretty funny in the comedies he's in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like 21 Jump Street was hysterical. Like I love that movie.
Exactly. Yeah. If you just want like standard Channing Tatum comedy with Also, the Sandra Bullock, like she's funny too, in her own like dry way. So
Yeah.
watch the movie. I was
Yeah, that's shocking, man.
yeah. We
It
started
doesn't ever
another.
come out of your mouth very often.
Yeah, that's very surprising.
Let's see,
Also,
here-
I really love Channing Tatum and Hateful Eight, which I guess I could
Yeah.
talk about that because I did watch that recently. It's such a good movie, and now it's a series, like a 4-part miniseries on Netflix that they extended. So
yeah.
if you haven't seen it, that's the way to watch it because it heads in a lot.
I own the movie, but maybe that's how I should rewatch because I do need to rewatch it. I've seen it twice, I think. Like once in the theaters, then once when I like bought the Blu-ray. But then yeah, I did notice when it came on Netflix, it was like a mini series, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's. I wish he would do that with more of his because I'm sure he films a ridiculous amount over
yeah.
what actually goes into the movies. But yeah, it's just a cool movie, just like a quaint little story in a blizzard that turns super violent. But yeah, the actors are all great. Especially Kurt Russell in that movie is just
Yeah.
freaking fantastic, man. He's so good. So is Samuel L. Jackson. Like they're all really good. But yeah, okay, good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. No, that's a good movie. I need to rewatch that.
Yeah.
When I find like 8 hours of time, like it's the season of Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
We actually started another movie, but the wife fell asleep. And this is a recommendation from OGBB8, Bianca. It's called The Menu, and it's on HBO. Notable, it has the girl from the greatest game, the game about chess, that actress that plays in that show. And then the guy is like, he's in a bunch of stuff, but would never know.
You
the
mean
name of
Queen's
him.
Gambit?
Queen's Gambit, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep, that girl. And then a slew of other people. Some people from Narcos, which is cool. The second series, Narcos Mexico. But essentially, like, there's this island that has this restaurant on it, and the whole island is like dedicated to this restaurant. So like they grow the food, harvest like the oysters and everything from the sea, but you pay like a ridiculous amount of money to go have dinner on the island for an evening. So it's kind of that whole like kind of like I think it's set up to be like who done it. We only got like 20 or 30 minutes into it, but they're sitting down, they're having dinner. The chef has a thing going on here, like a theme. So I got just to the point where like the like first twist pop off happened, and it definitely seems like an interesting movie.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, and a couple guys at work were telling me to watch it. It does look really good. I think it might. What is it on? What's it on?
I think HBO.
HBO. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Mike, you're muted. I see you're talking, but you're muted.
Well, that's what happens when I remember to
mute
do
the
it
mic.
for the throat clear, but then forget. That does have Janet McTeer in it, who we would all know as Helen Pierce from
Yes.
Ozark. Is it Pierce or Price? Doesn't matter. Yeah, Helen Pierce.
Pierce.
But yeah, when I saw trailers for this movie, I was definitely intrigued by it.
If you're a foodie or like to make fun of foodies, it fits both those molds for those people, because it's both like a satire on foodie people, but also has actual good information about how to enjoy food and all that kind of stuff. So
I can't wait to revisit this after you finish it.
yeah, I know. I definitely want to finish it. Aaron just fell asleep on me.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Classic.
She needs the Lost City, Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, like empty comedy. And that's also another reason why I like that movie made it, because that's like what grabs her attention and keeps it and doesn't let her fall asleep. But then it's also, I don't mind watching that because it goes in and then out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas like the movies that try to make me think, I'm like, why? I only need to think about this for like 2 hours and then it's done. Like,
Right.
give me a show.
Yeah.
And a game to go with it.
Yeah.
Sekiro the movie.
Have you guys been keeping up to date with the Bad Batch?
Oh yes, that's a really good point. not on my list, but have been watching The Bad Batch. I'm only 3 episodes out. Catch up, Chad.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good. It's good. Nothing that has like story wise that has blown my socks off, but we were talking in Discord the other day, just like the animation is top notch this season.
yeah.
And the lighting is so good. Like
Really? Wow.
yeah, and there was a scene where people are getting on the back of a ship, and you know, you have like the steam shooting off like as the doors lowered,
Yeah.
and like that steam looked real.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, yeah, it looks beautiful. It's very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So it's in the title. And this is actually one I want to talk about a little bit more. Though it's kind of like really off in the ether in terms of a topic. But it's Ancient Apocalypse. It's on Netflix, and it's narrated and presented by Graham Hancock. He's been on Joe Rogan Experience 2 or 3 times.
No.
And he just basically has this like theory that he peddles along with another colleague of his who makes an appearance on the show too. That's just like
Poor
really
guy.
cool.
No one ever remembers that guy's name. I know exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but I think everyone who ever refers
Randall
to those Rogan
Carlson.
episodes are like, yeah, Graham Hancock, that other guy. He's always with him.
Randall Carlson. So like Graham Hancock does like at least a job at like making himself presentable and not like, you know, tweaking a little bit. That Randall guy, he can tweak out. He's like a, I think he describes himself as kind of like an amateur geologist, but like he's like really
Really out there. Yeah.
he talks like that where it's like a little eccentric and like it loses people quickly, and I think that's why. Whereas Graham's like really like smooth, well paced, because he knows he's like under a lot of criticism all the time about the things he says.
Yeah.
So he's trying not to he's not trying to look like he has a tinfoil hat on, but
So what's he peddling exactly?
so it's the same stuff that he talked about on Joe Rogan, and those are episodes 872 and 1284. Good old Joe Rogan with his like quadruple digit episode numbers. But so it's technically classified as like pseudoscience because it's not really going through the full scientific method. It's like a lot of probably bias in there. Like he has an idea, he's finding all the evidence to like support that idea. But he does acknowledge like he's going out on a limb here because it does make sense once you kind of stack everything he's talking about up against each other. And it does explain some other oddities about our world that otherwise aren't explained through science, where science is kind of like, we'll ignore that for now until we like know more. Or see like, let's not ignore it and just think outside the box a little bit.
It also explains your response and replies in the group text earlier today.
What do you mean?
It all makes sense now.
I forgot.
Talking about the Great Society Reset or whatever.
Oh,
it's all clicking now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I just thought it was really cool that it made it to a Netflix show and Netflix series. But anyways, like the main premise of it is obviously, as far as like we can say, like regular contemporary science claims, is like Ice Age, cold, dark, like nothing really happens before that. We were hunter-gatherers. This is all 12,000 years ago. So like the movie 10,000 BC, that whole premise. So it's like 12,000 years ago, we're hunter-gatherers. We slowly kind of like started making civilizations, cities. They get like Mesopotamia, Egypt, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, we're kind of here today. And it's just that like gradual, we're like 12,000 years old hanging out. His point is, there was a significantly advanced civilization prior to that ice age and like this apocalypse around that time that got wiped out. So really we kind of like he says like we have amnesia as a species, and we really kind of just forgot everything prior to this cataclysm. which mostly gets chalked up to be like a giant flood, which is prevalent in every culture, many stories, many religions, and like the idea that every culture has some sort of serpent attached to like a doomsday scenario, and there's all very similarities between these like very mythical stories. You always have like a knowledge bringer that tells them how to do things like build pyramids all over the place. Um, and they came by like ship, and they have very similar appearances. So it's like saying there are these people that knew of all this stuff, transferred the necessary information to the reset of civilization, and then that's the point forward.
So yeah, so I have watched a couple things on this before. Maybe not specifically this, but that are you talking like how advanced are we talking here? Like a spacefaring civilization?
Not necessarily spacefaring. Probably like an Atlantis, but like world traveling, world colonization, like maybe even some sort of like alternate type of like technology than like what we're used to, kind of thing
Yeah.
like that. Different alternate power sources, those different ideas. He doesn't really go into like what type of civilization it would have been because there is like no evidence of that, but it is anywhere from like aliens to
Yeah.
just
So yeah.
Well, he
so
like he,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say he references a lot of like giant monolithic structures under
Right.
the
And that's
ocean.
yeah.
But like they're the piece of evidence they seem to like want to die on is like water erosion on like Sphinx statues that predate whatever date is significant of modern
yeah.
science or something.
And on the dates too, they're also really keen to acknowledge newer dating methods and like newer dates that people come back on things that aren't like fully worked into contemporary science, and they're like, oh, someone redated this thing, it's much older than we thought, so that means there must be more to this. Or we keep finding other sites around the world that are oddly much older than they should be, that line up with our current like working story, especially in like the Americas. Like they're finding some ridiculous stuff in like the Americas that should not exist here based on like what we think the Americas were like, because otherwise it's just like native populations really weren't anything special until the Middle Ages in Europe.
Yeah.
um
Right. Yeah.
and the whole erosion thing too, where it's like uh sun Sunderland or something like that. So like Indonesia was once like a subcontinent, which is between Southeast Asia and Australia, but that was like a huge continent, and it has since been flooded with the rise in sea level. So like there's a ton of flooding, whether like a lot of water, global flood, it all shifted around then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting. It's I have to check it out because I'm super into that stuff. The one the theory I'm talking about is like wildly out there that
The Anunnaki?
this
That's
this
my voice.
there was a spacefaring. So you know the like flat pyramids that don't come to a tip in like Mexico and stuff. They have like steps going up to them, and it's just goes to a flat.
I think those are more like ziggurats or something like that.
Yeah. So they're saying that those are like landing pads for ships, and that's why they were built. Which I mean, when you look at it, you're like, yeah, I mean, it fucking looks like a landing pad. Like, what else? What else were they doing with this?
What else would it be?
But yeah, so yeah, I have to check it out because I'm super into that kind of stuff. This one's just way the fuck out there, though.
Yeah, they do a good job, and not like he doesn't go like way the fuck out there and like what it could be. He really just sticks to like, hey, they found this new site. It's much older than we thought anything existed, or like much older but also much bigger, where he's talking about like these sites in like South America or like Mexico that would have supported populations of like hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
So it's like what's that?
Right.
And like why and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But most of the sites he goes through, he also talks a lot about how they're curiously all aligned, like with certain constellations, and then like the one, the way it's aligned, like even with markings of notable constellations in the sky, the way it's like oriented, the point at which he dated it based on like the point at which those would have been in that part of the sky would have been 12,000 years ago.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because like he's using that kind of evidence, a lot of like astrology evidence.
Yeah.
And the
This
fact
guy
that
this guy gets a lot of shit, right?
oh yeah,
Like,
A
is
lot.
this the dude that was like they were trying to say was like a white supremacist or something, or trying to
No.
You're gonna have to be a little more specific.
No, I don't
Especially
think
over the
so.
last couple of years.
okay, because I think maybe it might be, but I might be misremembering it. But
No, yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
it's that guy.
It's definitely interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, and he talks about Snake Mound in Ohio. He also highlights when these sites don't let him because his theories don't agree with what the standard
Yeah, I hate
stated
that,
his
yeah.
history. So like Snake Mound, they didn't let him on the site. But
it's so annoying. I
um,
can't stand that shit, to be honest with you.
that one was cool because he tied the astrology thing to it, because the mouth of the snake, which is eating like what looks like an egg or something like that, it points. It's hard to tell from it because there's trees everywhere, but you're saying at the time there probably wasn't that many trees around it. It aims like right for where the sun sets, and it's a little off today, but if you dial it back 12,000 years, it would
it'd
be
right
spot on
Oh
with
wow.
the setting of the sun. And then each curve in the snake's body hit the different equinoxes from where the sun rises or
Oh,
sets
wow,
throughout the
yeah.
year. And then the tail, the way it curves and ends, you run a line from the tail through the head, it's true north. And like all these sites carry those same characteristics where they are tracking like the sun and the stars with different like monuments and stuff. It's wild.
And shit that would be very difficult in that time frame as well, right? Like
He
that's
also
way
found
advanced.
this really weird like USB drive.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, it's just super cool. And they're 30 minutes long. So it's 8 episodes, 30 minutes long. Super not a big investment.
So is this like an alien thing he's trying to push?
No, basically, so all these different cultures and on these monuments always have like a snake depicted with like some doomy type hieroglyphics and crap like that. So the snake he equates to being like a comet. So a comet flew by, fucked us, put us in an ice age. Or actually, no, okay, this is how it, not to spoil anything, but whatever. They talk about him and that Randall guy. They talk about this massive flood that like nuked North America. And first, so like where the water came from, and they're not saying like, oh, like they're always like geologists like to think of things over like happening over thousands of years and everything's super slow. They're like, no, like apocalyptic flooding happened within like weeks. But everyone's just like, well, where are you gonna get all that water that quickly? Well, they're saying a comet hit the ice cap that was like all the way down into like Montana, and like just like nuked the ice cap and then just
flooded the water,
everything. Yeah. So they think about things and they propose definitely interesting clusters of information. But obviously, I haven't gone through and like found all the counter evidence and how, you know, maybe there is like some definite bias in what they're saying.
And it's definitely important to do with this kind of stuff for sure, to look at both sides of it, which people rarely do, which also is like my biggest pet peeve, when people just focus on one fucking side of it, you know?
Yeah. And, but it is nice because he doesn't claim to be, he's a writer, right? He's like, I just collect just as is facts, evidence, and just kind of compile them together. Obviously, he probably leaves out like some stuff to like make it a better theory, but there's enough stuff there to say like, well, yeah, he's not, I can't argue with him because I I don't have enough evidence to
You
be
can't
like, oh,
disprove
that
them,
for sure
yeah.
did not happen.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know why every culture on the planet thinks of serpents as like a coming of evil. And
Yeah, I mean,
there's
I
always
think
a flood in every story. We all build
Yeah,
pyramids.
But if you think about it, at least for the flood thing, like if you think about it, especially back then, if you think of a natural disaster, they're thinking of floods. You know what I mean? Everywhere in the world, they're thinking of floods. And then the serpent thing, like, yeah, snakes are just fucking probably terrifying. Everybody's terrified of them. They're like, those fucking things are awful, and they're gonna bring the doom upon all of us. You know? So yeah, who knows? It's like, you ever see Prometheus?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Oh yeah, it's such a good movie. But the like
That's
premise
what I
they're setting
believe
up
in.
at the beginning, yeah, yeah, that's what I believe too.
We're just like a petri dish.
The Anunnaki, man. I'm telling you, Nibiru. Let's go.
I love my Nibiru Anunnaki bros. They're the best. Planet X out there, just floating. It's
Just
waiting.
floating somewhere. Yeah.
Waiting to come back.
Gonna smack us real hard.
Have your gold
Mike's
ready.
Yeah.
Mike's sitting over here. He's like, whatever. We're only like 4,000 years old.
Yeah.
No, not touching that. That was a fun, very long debate at the office when we worked at an office with someone from Nick's department and someone from my department. Oh boy, those were the days.
The great thing is like they started off like same page, same argument, but then would end like, dude, I don't know about you, you're off. And then we're all just like, see, they can't even agree.
Yeah. That's better than how arguments go at the fire department sometimes, because it goes from like talking to motherfucking each other as they're screaming, walking out the door. So
you guys do have like giant axes, like Nick pointed out too. So
Right.
that's dangerous. We just the most dangerous weapon in our office was like a keyboard.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are like the alpha male.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And they
So
all
it's
have
just a bad
mustaches,
combo.
probably.
Yeah,
So I mean,
a lot of them too.
That's amazing. I do remember hearing a few episodes with him on Rogan, and it's
compelling. It's
interesting
fun to hear
stuff
about.
because like he's finding things, right, that don't really have a great explanation. So
it's also cool. It's cool because also he's going to these sites that there's 8 episodes. Some episodes that he hits like 2 different sites because they're kind of related to what he's talking about. So maybe say he visited 12 places, 8 of them I've never heard of or seen because they're either like recent or like no one ever talks about them. But it's also really cool just to see these like really obscure places that archaeologists are finding all over the place.
And nobody's talking because they're like, we don't know what the fuck that is. So
they're like, yeah, we
just
really
don't talk about it.
or which he probably has a very valid point. Like this one, I think in like in Vietnam or somewhere in Indonesia, I think, because they just basically chalked it up. They found it and they're like, oh, okay, everything else in this area is in this time frame. They were only hunter-gatherers at this time, so it must be this old. And they just like kind of gave it an explanation without really looking into it.
Digging
and
into it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like this. They have these really big like stones. They're probably like 4 to 6 feet long, and they're probably like a foot wide, like huge like pillars, and they're just like scattered all over the place in this like almost like a ruin of a building. But it's at this peak of this hill, which would be incredible to get them up there in the first place. But then beyond that, there's like 3 chambers in this hill all the way like deep down in that they're trying to like get to
figure out what it is.
Yeah, so it's like, well, yeah, there's no way hunter-gatherers 8,000 years ago build that.
Right.
Excavated a 3-story thing inside a hill.
Yeah, and he makes a point like later toward the end as he's getting more to like the thesis of like a comet like nuking things, because a lot of these seem to be built like bunkers sometimes where like people
dude, I'm totally going aliens. They came here, told us how to build these bunkers. Comet hit, floods, killed some people. Don't die,
my friends. Go hide in the dirt.
Yeah.
Nibiru. That's awesome. I wasn't
that
sure
stuff.
what you were doing with Ancient Apocalypse in the title. So
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like a Last of Us topic related,
No, that's a
or
modern apocalypse.
or from our text chain. But now our text chain does make a little more sense because the first thing I thought of when you said that was Graham Hancock. So it makes sense that you're watching a series by him on Netflix. So that's hilarious how that
I'm
all
always
kinda
thinking
came
about that
together.
stuff. But let's say like counter to like because I knew Jordan was going to go like, oh, I think it's much sooner than that, right? Because like I think he's in the camp of like any day now, like it's all done. My only issue
Jordan
with that,
is?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
My only issue with like that mindset is that's the mindset that we've had for at least like 4,000 years, right? Because there's no way
Right.
like everybody for the past 2,000 years haven't been like, oh yeah, this shit's over after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, right.
You know, especially like they're like, oh man, we just killed Jesus. Like it's really going downhill.
Yeah,
after
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Or like the Middle Ages. Like you can't tell me everyone wasn't like, wow, this is like the literal end. Like this sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, it's like you said, I think we're pretty net positive as far as you know, not being a shit show and needing to be wiped out, you know. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we're pretty balanced currently.
Right.
When you look at our history, we were way worse at certain points. So
Yeah, because who's to say we're not going to continue in just like this our presumed debacle into like expanse type stuff. Like
right.
we're just gonna keep trucking
Yeah.
until like something hits us.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of I heard a lot of like civilizations in the universe that just wipe themselves out before they get too advanced. So I think that's probably where we're going to head at some point. I think we're not ever going to see it. Our kids aren't ever going to see it. I think it's going to be thousands of years from now, but I think we're going to get to a point where it's just like, we're just going to blow ourselves up trying to do something cool, you know?
I mean, I think if we're gonna
Classic
like,
world holding firecrackers in its hand
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
forgetting to let go before it explodes.
if we're gonna like self off ourselves, I really hope it like the Hadron Collider and like Geneva
Yeah.
turns into a black hole because that would just be gnarly.
So cool.
Like, come on.
That's the cool way to go out. Yeah.
Because at
Dude.
least in the galactic history books, like someone finds out that they're like, wow, these idiots made a black hole
Yeah.
on their planet. And we're on like the galaxy's like dumbest videos, like funniest videos.
Yes,
like, look at these
there you
fools.
go.
Yeah.
Planet just goes.
Yeah. It's funny,
Show
but
me
I
what
think that
you
was like
got.
that was a legitimate concern with that.
Yeah,
that,
no, yeah,
that
that's
they
a
were going
real.
to open up little black holes. So yeah.
I think
And
it's like
there's
I think it's like a fake concern that just people have. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think like it might be theoretically possible,
right.
but I think we're
Right.
fine. We're not that dumb. We're not that smart to be that dumb, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, I don't know. I think Mandela effect is tied to that thing turning on for the first time. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe something got fucked up when they turned that thing on for the first time. We ended up with Trump and everything else that fell down the line.
No, I mean, I forget. There's a number of people, but like the theory checks out every time I run it by people. It's like 2012, the world did end, and we slipped into either like
A different-
Matrix or
yeah.
like you said, a different universe, like something like blended Marvel style. Like we're just blending
Yeah.
in the multiverse right now.
Right.
Something got messed up there, in
Dude,
2012.
I'm telling you, look at the date when they turn that thing on, because it's probably in that ballpark, maybe.
Yeah, because then I say like 2014 was like peak bliss, and then it all went downhill after, because it was like the Matrix worked for 2 years, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden like the algorithm
Shit.
broke down.
Yeah.
And like we're in full like breakdown mode.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I love it.
Man. Speaking of, I don't know where I was gonna go. Yeah, this episode, man.
Dad's
This
face
has been
backstage,
doozy.
just like, man, I don't know what to say. I don't know where you're going with that, Mike.
Have any of you guys started season 2 of Mr. Robot yet?
I have,
Yeah,
Because-
yes.
because I was like, we have 2 weeks. I have to watch some of it and not do the like 1 week crunch because I hate doing that. So I'm like,
Oh,
I have
see,
to at least start it.
I love the
That's-
1 week crunch.
That's how I have to do it, or I won't remember anything by the time we get here Thursday. So
Yeah. I plan on kicking on episode 1 tomorrow.
2008, they turned it on.
2008.
September 10th, 2008. They could not have like picked a different month. Like September 10th
Right.
is just spooky. Like it's
Bad.
too close to September 11th. And, like,
Bad idea. Jeez.
like, what were they gonna do if like something went wrong? They're like, oh, we'll just wait till tomorrow. Like September
Y-
11th.
yeah.
Just flip it on.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, do we have anything else left to talk about, or we wrapped up
Mr.
here?
Robot next week, season
Yeah,
2.
Mr. Robot season 2. One of my favorites. There's only 4 seasons. But I want to say, having not started season 2 yet, I want to say this might be my favorite season. It definitely has one of my favorite episodes. So I can't wait for you guys to experience that. And
I told Dad this last week, and I'll tell you now, Chad. Season 2 is like the first really big like mental flip, like where they really mess with your head, and that's on top of season 1. So like season
Really,
one's
I was gonna
nothing
say I'm already
compared to
pretty
what-
messed up. So
No, season 2 really
See,
like
season
amped
1
it
was
up.
like opening the passenger like side car door, and you sat down and put the seatbelt on. And season 2, like the driver like takes his foot off the brake.
okay,
Like we haven't even hit the gas yet in
Okay.
season 2. But yeah, so that should just prepare you for what's to come.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, I can't wait, dude, because I was like literally when we talked in the episode, I was thinking the twist at the end of season 1 was going to be season 4, like none of this shit actually happened.
They don't got time for that.
Yeah,
If it was on like
I can't wait to see where
USA,
it's
it would have
going.
been like 10 seasons, and that's how it would have worked.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited. Next Thursday should be fun. We're recapping season 2. February 1st, we will be unveiling the March Madness bracket for everyone, and we will be putting up our polls. We will, I don't know if we'll have a poll for every matchup on our community page on YouTube, but we will definitely have a form that people can fill out, tally their votes. But keep an eye out on our YouTube page, the community tab. The best way to do that is to subscribe so you'll know when we post stuff or release content. Also join our Discord. We have a channel set up just for the March Madness tournament. I think we're going to do something fun where we'll release the bracket on February 1st, and then you guys can fill out, if you're familiar with March Madness, most of the fun of March Madness is just filling out your bracket. So I want to ask you guys to print it out or whatever, fill it out, take a picture, post it in Discord, and have your brackets submitted before March 1st. And if we have any perfect brackets, I don't know, we'll give you something. There'll be a prize. I don't know what it is yet, but
something
would be really cool to see if anyone could get an actual perfect bracket of the streaming service original series. But be on the lookout for that.
That would be quite
stuff.
the feat. Yeah, that would be quite the feat.
It would be. But yeah, I don't know. Should be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Check out the Chosen Companion series. We have like a 2-week lull, but that's perfect time for you to get caught up on everything we've released so far. Which, by the way, we were talking about that at the beginning of the episode. James and I have been recording that since August.
Yeah, because
So,
it was House of the Dragon time frame, right?
As excited as I am for these final 2 episodes, I'm like
Ready.
I'm
Ready to be done.
appreciative of the 2-week break because
Yeah,
that's a lot of recording. We've had 22 or 23 episodes recorded. So go check it out. It's been fun. We've had some really good, like really deep conversations, and I've really enjoyed them a lot. So the show's great. The podcast has been greater. Go check it out. subscribe so we can give away an OLED Switch. And I don't have anything else to say. So unless you guys do, I'm going to get us out of here.
Peace out.
So I keep getting these spam calls and they leave voicemails every time. I have 5 of them just from today. And it sounds like somebody's walking with their phone in their pocket
Nice.
on the voicemail. But I just listened to it. Okay. And they're all from different, all over the place, all over the country. Almost all of them are the exact same sound of somebody's phone in their pocket. It's really eerie.
Wow.
They're fishing, bro. You've been watching Mr. Robot.
Yep.
Chad's getting hacked.
You want to know what I do? I answer it and then I hang up.
Yeah, that's
I
what
don't say
should do.
anything.
Yeah, I usually just let it go, but it's like literally filling my voicemail.
Well, because
box up.
that turns into like 20 voicemail messages you have to delete.
Right. Exactly.